Okay, so let's finish this off with sights, trigger, couple pins, and like small things left. So let's go with the back sight here. So let's traditionally start with a box. Move it. Just form the outer shape like this. So you can go doing this stuff. This thing will be cutted off. So there's also this part is quite interesting and unusual. So like this, the back part leans over the slide. It's not fully straight. Yeah, you can see this here. So it will be easier to cut it using the frame subtool that we already have. So, and I think I'll cut this part as well. Okay, so another thing is the width. Should adjust the width correctly because there is this bevel and I want to do it right now. And so you can see here that the width of the backside goes almost till this part of serrations. It's a good marker, so it's somewhere there. Yeah, like this. Also, you can check out the back view and compare it. Yep, it's somewhere there. Okay. So now let's do the bevels on the side edges like this. They're pretty much like that. And there's another bevel over here like this. No, it's somewhere in between. 1.15. Yeah, like this. Okay, this looks good. And one thing I want to do here as well is this rounded cylinder part cut out. So go with the cylinder, rotate 90 degrees, move, scale. If you want to scale the object and still be able to adjust the inputs on this one, you scale like on the middle box over here. Don't touch these guys or this, or in that case the input graph will not work properly. So right now I wanted to increase the amount of edges on this guy. 30 is not enough. 32. Go up somewhere there. Select the half of the cylinder and extrude. Okay. Add supporting edges there. Okay, so we're pretty good. I also have this top view reference right there. It's a bit blurry, but it's okay. So I think I have everything I need now, so let's go back. No, not yet. I also want to do, well, no, it's not. I wanted to create this form that cuts the back part of the sides, but you can see that frame here is not 100%. Slide is not 100% corresponds to the reference, so I'll do it on the spot without relying on reference that much. So export these guys, 1 and 2, go to ZBrush, let's create new folder, duplicate this guy and import into it, hide this. One, here it is. Let's create a folder, sites, right there. Duplicate and import 2, just like that. So this one is not needed to be divided. It's okay like that. This one, let's crease it. Divide. Let's turn off all the rest to make the scene run a bit faster. Now turn this one to subtract and move on the correct position, somewhere there. Let's double check this. I think the walls here are a bit thicker than I have, so just change the diameter. I'm holding Alt right now and scaling. Oh no, I have to set my pivot center right now. Now it's gonna work like that. Yeah, it's somewhere there. Okay, so let's continue. Import a box. Reset the pivot, Shift D, move down, subtract. Double check the reference. As you can see, there's a bit of a edge there. We can do that right there. There's also this surface with 2 edges, obviously. I'm not sure if it's not seen here, but I guess those guys should be there, so it's not a problem. Okay, so the width of this thing is somewhere there. It's okay for now. Let's keep it, or make it a bit wider, like this. So now duplicate this box, scale it like this, turn, move, and move it out a bit. You can scale it even more, scale sideways. Just making sure it's not affecting the other side for now. Turn on the poly paint. Yeah, this looks good. A bit too wide, I guess. Something like this. Yeah, this is definitely looking better. So duplicate it, mirror, subtract, and merge those guys together. Like so. So there's another thing, is this part over here and the cutout over there. So for that thing, I might use this form right here. So I'm going to export it. Right, hold on a second. Yeah, I'm going to use this thing, export this one as 1, and export this guy as 2. Right there. So import 1. I don't need most of the faces on this one, so I'll select, for example, this edge loop, then hold shift and a third key on the left from your right shift on the keyboard. There's like an arrow, like right side arrow. Just hold shift and click this key a couple times. It expands the selection in all directions. So deselect this guy and deselect these, right, and these as well. And I think I need this loop at 2. Deselect this. Okay, so now invert selection, delete unnecessary things. I don't need this as well. Alright, so this, I'm going to use this thing and import guy number 2. Here it is. Isolate those. So now I want to do the like inverted shape from this guy. Flip normals. Now I want to snap those 2 edges to the highest point on this part. Turn on snapping to point and move it over there. And somehow it's lower. Why so? Yeah, it's lower. Okay, so that's not a problem. So I can just delete those that are higher, and I will be able to move those guys in ZBrush. I hope so. Okay, so I also don't need those side faces, so select these, flip selection, delete those guys, make this thing wider, and now let's combine these 2 meshes and bridge these 2 guys. Bridge like this, extrude this side right there, and now extrude it like this, bridge here, and close those holes and connect those guys, and let's align those right there. Okay, so I have this shape. I need a supporting edge right there. I have one here already. Now let's export it. Whoops. Right there. Now let's select this guy. This should not be in this folder. Just like usual, duplicate and import. Right there, yeah. Now crease it. Yeah, it creased at the right places. Let's increase the smoothing right there. And set to subtract. And here we go. This looks correct. Okay, so one thing I don't really like here is like that tiny spot over there. That might be on like the reference, and it might be so in real life, but I don't quite like it. I think I would move this part a bit further. So that this thing would not be seen like this. Yeah. Now same thing for the sides. You can see that there's a gap. This should be fixed. Select this guy, select same vertices and move them right there. And right, you can see this shape is not parallel to that because we deleted some edges that before that, so you can like manually turn them proper like that. Yeah, this looks good. Okay, so another thing here is that I would like to give a bit more thickness at this side. So just by moving it backwards just a bit, so there will be like this gap like that. And finally, let's do this angled cutout with like those tiny serrations over there. Those are used on the sides so that under their like clear weather and sun, so that this surface would not like reflect the beam of lights into your eye while you aiming. So those serrations, though, they kind of break that reflection, clear reflection, and you can aim. So I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think it works this way. It's the most likely one. So just as usual, we actually have this box, so I'm going to use it, duplicate it, scale sideways, move and scale, give it a bit turn, like that. Double check the reference if this angle is correct. I think it's kind of there. Somewhere there, even more. Another thing that you can see here, I guess the angle of this part is a bit different. It's not like perfectly horizontal, so just duplicate this box, right, and rotate it somewhere like there, and do pretty much the same thing, right, like this. This actually would be better on baking. Instead of making sharp edges, do equally like normal edges, like 90 degrees angles somewhere there. Will be baking much better. Okay, and now for serrations. So this would be pretty much the same trick as we did on a mag release button. So you just have, for example, a box, duplicate it, move lower, scale it right there, like that. And what I want to do here is to stick the pivot, rotate this guy somewhere like there, and you can see pivot snaps back. That is a useful thing right now. This is exactly what I need, so that I had this perfect angle aligned parallel with this surface. Now turn it to subtract, move it somewhere there, And now just hold Control, move it once, somewhere there, and continue clicking 1 until you're done. As you can see, I was not counting the original amount of those serrations. That's not that too much important. And you can adjust this by scaling. Let's check it how it's gonna look. So it might be looking too noisy, like from first person perspective, and you can always double check if it's going to look better if you scale those serrations more, like this. It'll be more readable and more like noticeable, and it's not going to turn into noisy mess from the distance. So sometimes it's better to make those small details a bit bigger than they are in real life. Well, you can actually count those guys here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 of those guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9. I think I would make even less for better display. Yeah, I guess I'll stick to this number. This looks better, much better. It looks not that noisy, and you can still like get those lines. This looks better. So as you can see, I did that just by scaling those forms, and you can see that I used actually almost half of those. So I'll keep it like this, and I also would like to do those rounded things there. So this can be done simply with a sphere. So insert a sphere, move it. The topology of the sphere is not important, because this cutout will be baked, not going to be done in a geometry like that. Move it out a bit like that. Right there. Guess I would scale it up a bit. Yeah, this looks good. So duplicate it and mirror, and merge those two guys like this. Yep. Now, so basically the back, the back side is done. Yeah. There are no bolts, as I can see, and other stuff, it just pushes in from the side with this thing. So pretty much like that. Now let's do the front side. So it's going to be pretty much the same process. Just a box as usual. Scale it. for this one, I think I will just make this part manually. I will not cut this thing out, I'll just model it in. So move it right there. Select the face and extrude it. And scale sideways like that. And scale these guys sideways as well, like this. That's fine. Now weld those together. Move this down just a bit. And bevel this part like so. Yeah. Come on. So add supporting edge in here as well. And right, I'll do the thickness in ZBrush. Now let's do this outer shape over there. Let's go with the cylinder, rotate it. Scale. Right now I'm going to make this, like the edge over there, meet the edge on the other object. That will make things easier on the low poly model. Turn off the symmetry, select this side and extrude it like this, or like this. No, I'll go with this. Right now, I'm doing it in favor of low poly model. So add supporting edge here and here. And one last thing is the cylinder cutout over there, another cylinder. Scale it down. Let's make it 16. Yeah. Move over there and scale it. Scale it a bit more. Rotate. Always double check on the reference. Guess I should dip it a bit more. There, like this, so that we could see the cylinder, and move those guys in like this. Yeah. Okay, so now we're ready. Export this like 1, this goes as 2, and this goes as 3. So set this as one object, duplicate, set this to another object, another separate object, I mean. Here it is, crease, divide it. Right, I guess you can see artifacts because it's not creased everywhere. Like now there will be no artifacts. Yeah. So now let's make the thickness of this thing. Oh, right. You can see it's not matching here. That's not a problem. Be able to adjust that. Right. The thickness should be right there. And the height, obviously higher. Move it right there. Okay. Now duplicate, import number 2. Increase it. Guess I would move this a bit lower, like so. Now number 2 is going to cut, yep, like this. And let's import number 3. Crease. And you can see it's not matching. Well, the cylinder is placed not correctly because it's much higher over there, and it should actually fit with those holes right there. So I'll move it like this and scale it up so that it would have the same diameter as those holes. Right, somewhere there. And now I need to rotate the cylinder accordingly from this point, so it's the height of this point is not going to be changed. Somewhere like this. Yep. And finally, let's adjust this guy over here. Yeah, I guess it looks good. Good enough. Right, and there's an angle. Same thing here. This part is not that straight. It's somewhat like this. And this guy should be moved right there. Okay. So another thing is I'm going to duplicate this cylinder and use it as that color marker. I don't know how that material is called actually, but it's like pretty bright. Wait. So that you could aim better. Gives you a night sighting picture. Sticks in a bit like so. Like the tip of that cylinder should be smooth, but I'll keep it like this for now. It's okay. You can see the reference. This thing is too deep at mine one, so let's move it upper. Come on. You can see in ZBrush, the closer you get, the harder for program to fast render the scene and navigate freely. Okay, so let's keep it like this. This looks quite close. And the only thing left now is those serrations, and I'll take those guys from the back side, just duplicate it, move on the proper position in the folder, and just move those guys there as well. Oh, you can see the angle is almost correct. Set to subtract, And in this like projection, I'm going to move those perfectly to fit others like this. This looks good. Yeah. You can see now, perfect sighting picture. So the sights are done. Save the scene. Another thing I want to double check is the thickness of the front sight. Here's the reference. Here's our model. Mine one is even thicker, I guess. You can see the points are a bit higher and smaller. Well, no, I'm gonna go how it looks like right now. It's not that important. Like this gun has a demonstration purposes. I'm not aiming at 100% representation of the original gun, so I know that it can be done, and I will just spend time on moving those like cutouts on the proper position while just wasting like my and your time. So it's not that hard to do. So I'll just keep it like this and not waste any more time on that. So things left now are the trigger. The big thing is the trigger, and I guess it's the biggest thing left. The rest are not. Oh right, and those control like levers. So let's do those. So okay. Let's go to the side view. And those things are from the other side, so I'll have to eyeball this. Okay, so usually start from the box. So this field strip lever comes a bit higher than the frame, goes onto the slide just a bit, right? You can see it right there. And I guess it follows the diameter of this side. So I guess the thickness is somewhere there. Yeah. And I actually started this thing wrong because I have to start with the cylinder because one of the sides is rounded. So I'll go again with the cylinder and adjust the diameter of the cylinder according to this box I did before. Somewhere like this. All right. So 20 edges is fine. Oh, come on. Extrude. Somewhere here. And as you can see, the roundness of this is completely different from this one. So for easier thing to do that, I'm going to do the next thing. I'm going to delete these faces and just close, right, no, not close, but bridge those edges. Come on, deselect those. Yeah. bridge those edges, select these two, and just bevel those like so. All right. And another thing is these guys, I'm going to weld those to there and move this a bit forward like this. Yep. This looks good. And this should obviously be on the other side, right there. Double check the reference. So you can see you have this button, you have some thickness to it, you have this pyramid-like shape over here, and you have just a box behind this. Somewhat like a box. Okay, so let's give this thing a proper thickness like this. Now and I'll add some more thickness considering that pyramid-like shape. Like, okay, I'll go with like this. Now let's add some supporting edges so that the round corners would look proper. Come on. Okay. Here and here, and now let's export this guy and do the rest in ZBrush. So, right, there's that slide over there. I don't need it in this folder. Duplicate it, import one, and this thing is right there. I'll create a new folder for it. I'll call it controls. Right, crease, smooth. And right now I'm going to hide all the rest. Leave only this and that as well. So now let's duplicate and import simple box. Unhide it. Shift D, move it right there. And let's just make those steps right there. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, considering the last one, 4 steps. So it's not going to be that hard to do. Set to subtract, move it down, scale it sideways, move all the way here, and control drag like there, control drag another time. So we have 3 and the 4th one is the top one. So yeah. Now duplicate this thing, rotate it 180 degrees right there. Set to subtract as well and move it all the way down. And here you go. Let's polypaint those guys. And I think in order to make it perfectly symmetrical, just merge those two guys together and move it like this so that the distance of those, the length of those first steps were the same. Yeah, it looks good. So there are like surface left, and this one as well. That thing is pretty easy to do as well with a simple box. Move it accordingly, set to subtract, move it right there, and just rotate it like this. And here you have it. Double check with the reference. This one is a tricky one. Guess it should have more thickness. I'll move the pivot right here so that I would have more control at this point. Right there. Okay, so I guess I'll keep it like this. So let's do the other side. Rotate 180 degrees, move accordingly. Now this has not that sharp angle. Not sure about that. Yeah, it should be looking like that. Come on. Well, I'll keep it like this. This looks good enough. Frame. Yeah, it looks properly. The only thing is that I think I need to stick it out of the frame a bit more, so you can do that. Save the scene in order if something goes wrong. So transpose set. Right, as you can see, it masks all the rest, and you can move entire folder right there. And yeah, we're done. Okay, one control is done. Time to do the second one, this one. And it's going to be pretty much the same, but a bit easier. So let's do a box as well. Scale it down. let's add some beveling. No, first of all, need to do a proper shape there. Well, the thickness and all the kind of rest stuff can be done in ZBrush. Right now, I just need to nail the beveling here, like this. It's fine. Add supporting edges and export it. Select this one as 1. This one's going to be 2. Yep. Now let's move it on. Right. Deselect this. Move this guy over there. At the place where it should be. I think it's a bit longer. So move it to the frame. It should be a bit lower than this thing. And no, don't scale, just move like this. All right, now crease, divide, and I think we can actually use the same pyramid tool we have here. Duplicate this guy, move it down, set to subtract. Yeah, this guy has the same amount of steps. Right there. And some of those cutouts as well. I mean the beveling. It's not that strong. It is somewhat like this. It's really soft on the other side, so I don't even think I should do that. Okay, so these two main controls are done, but not completely. This one is lacking, like, there is like a boxy thing on this one, but it's not going to be used in game. I really doubt that this thing will be rotated in order to like disassemble the gun, but this thing will be moving. So to give it more realism, you should model the internals of that thing. So let's duplicate this box, set to subtract, select previous one and Control Z until it's straight right there, and select it to add, move lower, move it there. Right there. I could snap it, but this side is not going to be seen, so I'm not going to snap it. That's a time waste. And move this guy over here. you can actually see how this thing is built with one of those blueprints, which is, yeah, this is it. You can see it, like the bends lower. Just checking how much is going to be seen. Let's turn on the slide and just check it. Right, I also have this back position slide right there. And this thing actually going to be a bit higher, fitting that slide position right there. So, okay, I'll leave it like this. That's okay, that's fine. That is just good. So really few things left. Trigger, safety here, and some pins. Let's finish this gun off.